Hey guys, thank you for stopping by Lifestyles in Atlanta YouTube channel. Now, before we begin with the interview, make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment below. Enjoy.
Where today I have a special guest named Alex Palacios. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Doing well, and yourself?
Yeah, I am doing great, and thank you for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
Those of you who don't know who Alex is running for city council. If Alex wins, which I know Alex will, they will be the very first gender non-binary person to hold a position at city council in the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also a small number of people in the nation. Do you know offhand what that number is?
I'm not exactly sure, but I know those numbers are relegated mostly to the coasts. So I'm really excited for this endeavor.
I am too, and I believe you're already known in various parts of the nation, including in Atlanta.
I've been to Atlanta a few times. I've been for conferences, and it's been really, really great. It's a lovely city, and I hope to go back someday soon. Once travel is safer, of course.
Of course. And I believe you've also won some numerous national awards.
Yes, last year I was nominated by you, actually, and won the honor of being named one of the Pause 100 in Pause magazine, celebrating transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary HIV allies and advocates. So that's been amazing, and something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It means so much to me.
And I must say, I've seen your work, and you deserve that honor.
Well, thank you.
And I hope to see you get such an honor again, and maybe bigger honors.
I hope so too. I hope so. But again, these honors are not about me. They're about the work that needs to get done, and they're about me working as a conduit to get it done.
Well put. And you said you've been to Atlanta before.
Yes, twice.
What's your favorite part of Atlanta?
I love Piedmont Park. I had such a fun time going there and sort of getting away from the downtown area, seeing it. It looks beautiful from the distance, and just walking around. It's gorgeous. Oh gosh, and I love the food. Oh, the food is so good.
Yeah. I will have to agree with Piedmont Park. I love that area too. I believe that's where Gone with the Wind was filmed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So much history there, isn't there?
It's wonderful and interesting, and the people are so friendly. And I'm happy to be able to talk to folks in Atlanta. So hi, Atlanta. Hi.
Oh, David says hi from Atlanta too. Why are you running for city council?
That's a great question, and interestingly enough, before I decided to run, I wanted to take a step back from politics. I was membership director for Stonewall DFL, which is the LGBT caucus of the Democratic Party here in Minnesota. And I wanted to take a step back, and then my council member stepped down. He took another job, and I thought, why not me? Why not me? Ultimately, I have been through quite a bit, and have all these intersectional identities. I'm Black, I'm Latinx, I am non-binary, as you mentioned, I'm queer. I'm a person living with HIV. I have been through homelessness. I've been through addiction, and so I understand sort of the different intersections of different marginalized communities in my ward. But most of all, especially through my experience with HIV, I understand that there are things that do not discriminate. I understand that there are things in this world, for example, racism, that we are all subject to. right? That we've all, especially if you've grown up in the United States of America, we all carry some of that with us. We all understand that we want to provide for our families and for ourselves. We all understand that we want to thrive and not just survive. Those are the points of connection that I have with every single member of the ward. And I look forward to being able to speak to every member, to get to know their stories, and to amplify their needs and represent them at the City Council.
Yeah, well put. And what makes you fit for the position? I know you said that you have a lot of experience, and which is fantastic, but what makes you fit for the position?
Sure, I believe that the three biggest things that we'll be looking at, right, the three biggest issues are going to be defunding the police. I myself have had some really awful experiences with the police. And I have a relationship with the police chief and with some of the liaisons. And so I understand that there are certain systems, right, that can be reformed, but there are certain systems that need a brand new start. And this is one of them. I have worked with my local community, with my neighborhood, to implement safety measures like making sure that people have solar-powered motion-censored lights at their home, making sure that we're getting to know each other so we know who is in our neighborhood and who isn't, and we can control the flow. It's making sure that we have access to certain apps that keep us safer, and implementing these things and many more as we transition is going to be very important. And the second thing is public health. COVID has left in its wake just tons of instability. And unfortunately, we weren't ready to tackle this. But having worked in public health for 2+ years, having served on the board of an organization that provides services to people living with HIV, being a person living with HIV myself, I know a thing or two about transmission. I know a thing or two about care, prevention, and so I am really looking forward to using my expertise to figure out what it is that my neighbors, what it is that the community sees as their public health concerns, and addressing those in a way that makes sense and that is equitable.
Yeah, and you mentioned a bit about defunding the police and a little bit about racism. I've noticed that 2020 has been a big year with the discussion about racism. Do you think that's been mostly positive, or would you say that's negative?
I think it's generally been positive. I believe that the more we have this conversation, the more we face ourselves, the more we face our history, the better off we'll be for it. But it's not enough to talk about it, right? It's not enough to say, okay, I'm gaining a deeper understanding. We have to change the systems that uphold racism, both in this city and across the nation. What does that mean? It means that we have to elect officials who represent those values, right? The values of anti-racism, of equity and justice. It means that we have to have difficult conversations with people who disagree with us and be willing to say, okay, we may not agree on everything, but that doesn't mean it has to be contentious. We can just talk about this and expand our horizons as to, what this means in our lives. But finally, it also means coming together. We can't do this alone, and we can't do it separately. We have to come together to address these issues, and there is no other way forward.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, on the discussions, I mean, they're great to have, and I say let's keep the discussions going even if we do disagree. But absolutely, I agree with you 100%. We have to do way more than that. I mean, although discussions are a great way to start, just let's not stop them, and let's not stop doing everything else.
Exactly.
And so, speaking of which, I'm sure you know that there was a man named George Floyd who was murdered in Minneapolis, in where you live.
Yes.
Yeah, and how exactly has that affected you?
So we are We are sitting only blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered. And the night I heard about it, it was just hours after it happened. I remember thinking, this is going to be the next LA riots, because the people of Minneapolis have had enough. We see it time and time and time again, and we've seen it since here in the Twin Cities. As an Afro-Latinx person, I certainly felt a sense of responsibility, but I also felt, and by the way, when I say responsibility, I mean responsibility to my community, right?
Of course.
But I also felt attacked. I felt a little less safe in the world. And then, just right after George Floyd's murder, we saw attacks towards Black transgender people, men and women. And then I felt attacked, but from two angles. It was really disheartening, but instead of wallowing in that, I took to the streets. I joined my community. I organized a rally for Black trans lives, where Cece McDonald spoke, and a few other of my incredible trans heroes, sheroes, and theros, as I like to call them. And it's been about throwing myself into the work. It's been about seeking catharsis through community. Community has saved my life. If it weren't for community, if it weren't for places like this place where we're sitting in, the Aliveness Project in Minneapolis, then I would not be here. And so I understand that healing comes through community. And I know that community can change a person's future. Unfortunately, we could not change George Floyd's death, but hopefully we can implement measures and come together as a community so that it doesn't have to happen again. That's part of my big push for defunding the police department here is systems of oppression are not built for people of color. They were built against them, and the police force has proven to be such an entity, so we've got to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you mentioned, you said Latinx. Could you please clarify what Latinx, I know what it means, but could you clarify what Latinx means for the listeners who do not know what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Latinx is sort of a gender-neutral way of expressing that you have a Latino background. So males identify as Latino, females identify as Latina. I identify as Latinx.
Okay, so that's the more gender non-binary or non-conforming?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And speaking of that, what does gender non-binary mean to you as a city council person or future city council person?
Hopefully, future city council
I
person.
know you will.
Right?
You will. You're gonna win.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, believe me, if you were not gonna win, you would not be here.
Well, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope to be in the position to make such a difference, but
you will.
I think it's interesting. I never really think about it too much because even for me, having those words associated with my identity is pretty new. It's only been 2 or 3 years since I changed my pronouns and identified this way. I've always felt this way, I just didn't have the words for it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still sort of growing in my identity and really embodying that space. But that is a journey that a lot of us, despite our identities, where we're from, what our first language is, it's a process that we've all experienced before. It's realizing this beautiful thing about yourself and coming to terms with it and accepting it fully and embodying it. Um, so that's another point of connection with, you know, people across the ward and just humanity in general. But to be in a position to be the first non-binary elected official in Minneapolis, in most of the Midwest, and in most of Middle America, just sort of up and down, is extremely humbling. I feel happy, but I also feel a little bit of pressure to represent people in a way that is that honors our strength, our diversity, our character, and it's an exciting challenge. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait too. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think I've said it all, honestly. I just want to say thank you to the listeners for inviting me in and for listening in on this conversation. And I want to let people know that we here in Minneapolis are at the epicenter of global change. And I, for one, plan to do everything in my power to make sure that we get to a place where anti-racism is the way of the world. And it's going to take a long time, and it's going to take all of us. But for all of you listening out there, you are not alone. And we are ready to fight, and ready to go, and ready to change.
Yes, yeah. And what advice would you give to somebody who's seeking to run for a political position, let's say somebody in Minneapolis or someone in Los Angeles or Atlanta?
Yeah, yes. If you're out there and you're considering a run, please know that it will be challenging, that you will learn about a lot about yourself and your community, that there will be pressure to be perfect. You don't have to be. People don't expect a perfect politician. People expect a human politician. People expect someone who will represent them and who won't impose their vision on the community, but rather go to the community and amplify that voice. Surround yourself with people you trust. Reach out to the people you love. And never forget that politics should be about service. It's not self-serving, it's not about prestige, it's about service to a community. And I'm excited to continue to serve my community. And if anyone needs any help, advice, please reach out to me. You can go to alexforward6.com. That's Alex, FORWARD6.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Well, thank you again for being a guest on Lifestyles in Atlanta.
Oh, thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, and good luck on your run. And for those Minneapolis listeners, when you get out and vote, please vote for Alex. If you are in their, what's the word?
Ward, yes.
If you are in their ward, please vote for Alex. And Alex will do a great job, and they will serve you well. And for those of you who are not in their ward, I hope that you can use Alex's story as inspiration, because they are quite inspirational.